Jordan Henderson didn't get hurt playing football. He got hurt celebrating a win. After the match England versus Mexico, Henderson jumped over the advertising board to celebrate with the fans. He slipped on the landing on his outstretched arm and completely shattered his forearm. He was stretched off with oxygen, hospitalized in Mexico City, and needed 3 surgeon operation days to fix it. His workout was over, not from a tackle, not from a collision, for a mistake. So here's the question of the video. Why does nothing fails sometimes break bones worse than a cut tank injury? When your body senses it's failing, you don't get a choice what happens next. There's a hardware reflex that shows your arm out in front of you to catch the fall. It's perspective. It's also the single most common reason adults fracture their forearm. It's called push, a fall on an outstretched hand. Here is the medical problem. When you fall, your whole body's kinetic energy has to go somewhere. Normally it's absorbed gradually. It needs balls and step. But in push fall, that energy gets funneled through one small rigid path, hand to wrist to forearm, almost instantly. Chu and Robinson modeled exactly this is in a classic biomedical study, measuring impact force during forward falls onto the outstretched hand. Their model showed that once a fall hit past roughly 0.6 meters, the peak force at the wrist exceeds the average fractures to the whole of the distal radius, the main bone you break in this type of injury. Henderson wasn't falling from a ladder. He was balancing a barrel at speed, off balance from an elevated, uncontrolled position. That's where the path where the threshold where the model predicts real fracture risks. Not every full fall breaks the same way, and this is where it gets specific. According to the orthopedic literature on the wrist fracture, most distal radius fractures happen when the wrist land extended and rotated palm down, like this. This position put the dorsal bending force straight through the bone. The dorsal side of the radius is thinner and weaker than the palm side, so it collapsed first. And that is the classic dinner fork, that deformity you see on the Colles fracture. Change the wrist angle little slightly, and you get a different fracture. And this is the Smith fracture when you hit the floor like this. Same fall, same bone, a different angle, and you get a different fracture. And this is the reason why you watch a sport and you see on your TV, for example, oh, that 2 athletes fall into the landing, but he did a different fracture, but he fall in the exact same way. And there is a reason why judokas and gymnastics can take hard falls without breaking anything. One study shows that the strategies your arm uses to absorb the impact change the peak force that actually reaches the bone. A slightly bent elbow that gives impact spreads the force out over to longer distance and longer time, lowering the peak load. And muscular activation obviously matters too. In a vitro cadaver research testing a static muscle force on the intact distal radius found that pre-activated forearm muscle changed how much force the bone can absorb before it falls, because muscles don't act just movers under load, they act like a shock absorbers. The problem is that protective activation happens in the split second before you take an anticipated fall. It happened to Henderson. Walking a barrel in a celebration, sleeping and landing awkwardly gives your nervous system almost no warning. There is no time to brace properly, no time to choose a safer landing strategy. That combination, high energy, an unanticipated fall, and a stiff, unprepared arm, is close to a worst case scenario for the distal radius, even though nothing about the moment looked dangerous. Henderson's father described the injury as if for him being completely smashed. Instead of one clean break, the bone came fragmented to multiple pieces, a comminuted fracture, like you can see right now. It should be clarified that I got these images from X, I don't know if they are feel completely accurate. This is why the mechanism of injury tells the physician almost the same that the X-ray does. If you found this mechanism interesting, this is exactly the kind of injury we break down every week. Real cases, real studies, and real biomechanics. And if you like Spider-Man, and like me, hit the subscribe button. In general terms, surgical repair distal radius fracture with a plate fixation typically move through a pair of protective motion that are specific loading than the stretching, with returning to high level. Obviously, this depends on the real fractures, fixation stability, and how his body is responding to the treatment and the surgery. It is a process, not a single event. So, this is the message for me to Henderson and from the people who is fractured or to a surgeon, proximity to a surgery. This is you have to take this very slowly. It's not to the morning to the night. It's not like this. You have to get into the process. So, here's my reflection. Henderson injury happened away from the ball. In a moment, nobody would have afflicted dangerous. That is exactly the point. The biomechanics of a fall don't care where it happens. It's during a play or during a celebration, don't care, just happen. The wrist doesn't know the difference between a jump or from a tackle. It only knows the force, the angle, and the time and it had to react. So, there is the end of this video. I hope you enjoy it and hit the subscribe button and the like button. Take care, White Coat family.